Welcome. What is up? Welcome to the Mixer. I am your host, RC. I am joined by my co-host here, Jeff. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Still in San Diego. Don't go back to Idaho till Monday.
Awesome. It's good to have you in town, even though I haven't seen you. I'm sorry, dude, but with a baby, it's very tough to do anything.
I get it.
So special episode today. We're going to do a little underdog draft. You can follow along on YouTube. Obviously, we're going to be discussing it. It's the Mixer channel, and while I'm at it, let's mention our social channels. It's at FCY Mixer. Twitter is the best place to interact with us. Like and subscribe, comment, give us your feedback, and we appreciate you listening. So while we're waiting for this lobby to fill, Jeff,
One.
and it's a $5. It's the puppy. It's the big tournament on Underdog. Not a paid ad, not a paid sponsor. We do happen to enjoy it. Poor Jeff cannot use Underdog in Idaho. But what are your thoughts on the sports world, man? We got the Euros going on. We got Italy and England in the final. Copa America, Brazil against Argentina. The Padres are falling on their faces a little bit. Formula One's been kind of boring, but mid-pack stuff's good. So what's on your mind, man? Oh, and we got the finals going on. So, yeah, what's on your mind as this draft is about to start up?
Not a lot. It's been a fun, sports week. Nice. We're drafting right next to each other. The Euros have been a lot of fun. I thought England would beat Denmark, but I also thought they got kind of a phantom penalty. Raheem made it look good, and it was probably a poor challenge anyway. But it didn't look like he got touched a whole lot. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, Harry Kane missed the penalty but made the follow-up. I really can't stand that guy. I did make a comment yesterday. Obviously, the dude is great at what he does. But I also feel like he is probably the worst elite player in any sport at anything, right? So, he's an elite striker, yet he's pretty bad at a lot of things soccer-wise and very unimpactful if he's not around the goal, from my view.
He's just kind of there. I mean, obviously as a suffering Arsenal fan, been on the bitter end of him putting some goals away, but I mean, not too many. And I would say Aubameyang is actually kind of the same way. They're just in the right spot in a lot of times. So, I mean, Aubameyang maybe is a little more talented with the ball at his feet, but I hear you, man. There is something to being in the right place at the right time, and maybe his greatest skill is just his positioning and knowing where to be at on the field in certain situations, which is a skill. It just doesn't, it's not as easily quantifiable. So, but I agree with you, man. He's a bit overrated, and yeah, when he got that PK stopped, I was like, yes. And then it did not work out. So you're on the clock here. Who are you taking?
I took Kelsey. I haven't taken him yet. I know this. I've been doing most of my drafts at FFPC because I can actually do them in Idaho.
Yeah.
And that's tight end premium. So it's PPR, except tight ends get 1.5 points per catch instead of the normal one. Underdog's half point PPR, but I just think Kelsey's kind of far and away the best tight end. I think that others can obviously catch him on the right day or the right season potentially, but I just, I think Kittle's probably in his class, but I don't know about their quarterback situation. And I think that Waller is up there as well. But I'm never completely sold on Derek Carr either. So, and this is like my I think something like my 18th draft, and I don't have Kelsey yet.
Oh, there you
So
go.
why not?
Yeah, that would have been my pick if he was there. I took Saquon Barkley. I mean, not much you can really say besides hopefully the Giants' offense isn't as terrible, and hopefully he recovers from his injury and is back to living up his full potential or playing to his full potential.
Yeah, I've taken Saquon a few times. I've gotten that like 105, 106 spot, and he tends to be there. I take Kamara if he's ever there. But yeah, I have Saquon a few places, so why not do something different? Now, second round's coming up. You're before me. What are you thinking?
I'm probably going to take a wide receiver. Between I haven't updated my rankings lately. So, I mean, for wide receiver, I have A.J. Brown, Devontae Adams, and Calvin Ridley in no particular order. So I'm probably going to go with whoever gets to me out of those three. Underdog ADP has Calvin Ridley, the highest of the three.
Mm-hmm.
My rankings actually have AJ Brown, the highest of the three. However, I've kind of heard some more stuff about Ridley, so I think I'm actually leaning Ridley now. I mean, Devontae Adams, the wide receiver, and there goes Ridley, of course. So it's between AJ Brown and Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, the number one wide receiver last year, but obviously we don't really know what's going to go on with Aaron Rodgers. It just seems like there's going to be some regression built in there, and I think AJ Brown is on the way up still. So I'm going to take AJ Brown. Although that, who knows how it's actually going to play out, but I'm optimistic about AJ Brown this year. I don't think. Who did they bring in? They brought in.
They lost Corey Davis. They lost Jonnu Smith. They brought in Julio Jones.
Julio, that's right. Doy. So that's why I think AJ Brown's been slipping a little, but I mean, if anybody can increase offense production, I think it's, what do they say? Rising tide floats all boats. So, I mean, that's the narrative I'm going to buy into. Who knows what actually happens? I saw you took Clyde.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's that Kansas City stack we were talking about before the draft.
Well, so I did this once last year too, where I just stacked all of the Chiefs. Not all of them. Obviously, you can't. Last year there were basically 4 that went in the first 3 rounds, so you can't really get all 4. This year it's kind of the same thing. I'll be honest. I have yet to take Mahomes. I don't normally take quarterback super early, but I have Kelsey. I have Clyde. If Mahomes is there, even though it's well before his, maybe not well, but it is before his ADP, I would probably take him just for fun, right? Like, maybe the Chiefs are even better this year and we can just stack, right? Also, we're in a tournament.
Yeah.
So, the goal is obviously to win this league, right? But also to win the tournament. And I have a feeling that there will be very few teams that go and have Mahomes, Clyde, and Kelsey on them.
Yeah.
So I think it will give me a leg up in terms of uniqueness.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's what that was gonna be my next point. In a tournament like this, the puppy, the way it works is it splits. So we're in a draft group right here, and so the winner gets a certain payout, and then they advance to the knockout rounds, and then you play in another 12-team league, and then like the top 3 move on, and it just keeps going until it narrows the field to, I think, 50. And then it's winner takes all. And what is this one? Like 25K to first. So
it's 50 to first this year.
So 50K. Okay. So there's going to be a lot of teams with the same players, like if Kelsey has a great year like he did last year, there's going to be a lot of people in the knockout rounds with Kelsey. And I mean, same thing with Mahomes and, whoever the number one running back is, there's going to be a lot of teams with that guy rostered. So you do have to differentiate. And like you said, that Clyde piece is really going to probably differentiate your roster. And, it can, and it's correlated because they're all Chiefs. I mean, the running back might eat into them a little bit in the knockout rounds, but we see DraftKings lineups win the Millie Maker all the time because they just win it with a ridiculous team stack, and
right,
all that takes is to happen in the final round, and you could be in big money if it hits.
Right, and that's the thing is I could very easily finish last with a team like this, right? Let's say the Chiefs have, a below average year, or one of them gets hurt. It kind of like kills the team in a lot of ways. But, as you were saying, there is that correlation. If I happen to have a good year, I get to the finals, maybe there's a better chance of winning because the team is going to be more unique than some other teams.
Yeah. Who do I want to go with here?
Well, you went with Terry last pick, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to go QB. I don't think so. I'm not a huge fan of the running backs on my list. So I'm going to go with another receiver. I'm going to take Lockett, who I don't have very much of, but, he's a boom guy. And again, tournament like this, if he get a, 200-yard, 3-touchdown game, that'd be nice if Russ is cooking. So
yeah, exactly.
At least that's my thought. And with Terry, the offense should be better. I don't know what Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to do, but I just think McLaurin has that wide receiver 1 potential. I see you got Cooper Kupp.
Yeah. Yeah, not the. I really kind of want to lock it there. I'll be honest, but I, like you, was not a huge fan of any of the running backs there. While I am a fan of Dobbins and Swift, I don't necessarily like the situations. Obviously, Dobbins is in a very likely high efficiency situation. But I doubt he gets more than 200, 220 touches on the season. It's hard to be an RB1 without like 250. And Swift, I just don't know. Like, they've talked Jamal Williams up, new head coach there. I just avoid Detroit. I don't think they're going to be all that good. And then Montgomery, Cohen's back. They traded, or they got Damian Williams from the Chiefs. I just don't think he's going to have the same impact as he did last year. But this pick coming up, I'm glad someone took Thielen, because I likely would have taken him there, although I'm not the biggest Thielen fan. But, this is a tough one. I typically go receiver heavy. I am kind of a fan of Mike Davis, but this is what people call the running back dead zone. And I'm not really a fan of guys you can pick up off the waiver wire the year before and then putting them in, but I'm going to go for it. I just think that the opportunity there, I think he could, the volume he could get in Atlanta, especially if he's catching passes, he could just be an RB1. While I don't expect it, again, I'm just kind of going for what I think is going to be a unique build more than anything. I'm probably only going to leave this draft with 4 running backs as well. So
Nice. I took Kyler Murray. Could be, hopefully he gets the same rushing production in that he increases his passing game stuff. He was working with the injury. It seemed like halfway through the season last year, so high ceiling option there.
Yeah, I have Kyler in our dynasty league, and I think he was like the QB1 like 10 weeks through the season or something like that, and then he got hurt. And then he was still okay after that, but he wasn't nearly as effective.
All right. And yeah, I don't have Hopkins with Kyler, but that's fine. I'll try to pair him up with somebody later. One thing, I did want Kyle Pitts to slip to me, but he didn't. So now I don't have, in my estimation, a top tight end. So I'm gonna have to kind of get creative with filling the tight end slot. If I want this to be a tournament winning team, which this isn't a typical build for me, middle of the snake. And anyway, I haven't been drafting as much recently, so the ADP is a little different than what I had been familiar with, but we'll get it on the back end. We're only in the 5th round or through 5 rounds, working the 6th. While we have a lull here, what do you think about the F1 race and how that went? It did not, I kind of, if you're watching that race and ignoring the top 3, it was awesome. And luckily the coverage did a good job of that. I was hoping for rain, that didn't hit, but we had some Ferrari McLaren battle. What did you get to watch it?
I could have watched it, although I was extremely hungover and did not have a fun morning that morning. So I did not watch it. I haven't even watched highlights. I did read about it. I messaged you, I think it was Friday after FP2, where Mercedes kind of dominated FP2. But then I was reading about it, and the weather was, I don't know if they would say significantly colder during FP2, but it was colder. Mm-hmm. And the Red Bull really seemed to struggle, while the Mercedes, I say Red Bull struggled. I think Max still had like a pretty good time. But he wasn't anywhere close to either Lewis or Valtteri during that session. Then FP3 came and Saturday came, and the weather never cooled off again. It was still warmer, just like it had been the weekend before. And, I don't know what the difference in weather really means to those cars, but it kind of struck me after that, and then like reading about it, how like what seems like just a few degrees can make a huge difference in the performance of a car. And I think, like you, I was hoping for either rain or some type of cooler weather during the race, which obviously did not happen. And then Max kind of ran away with it for the second week in a row. Lewis going over a turn, I think, caused some aerodynamic damage to his car, if I remember right. And Mercedes said he was about half a second a lap slower after that. I know the F1 app actually did a study, and Lewis was significantly slower after that. So I don't think they were far off in saying he was half a second slower. I was actually wondering your thoughts on the penalties that were handed out. I know Perez got 2, which caused him to fall below Sainz, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then Lando actually got 1 as well. I obviously, as I said, I didn't watch it, so I don't know if they were valid or not, but I was wondering your thoughts on those.
On the penalties, so, if you follow along, at FCY Mixer on Twitter. I believe I shared some thoughts on there, so it's a nice little tie in. But the FIA or the race control kind of boxed himself into a corner because, you know, basically they said that you had to leave your space and on the side for your opponent when they pull alongside you. And, you know, it's tough because the driver is just kind of holding their line. They're on the racing line. The person trying to make the pass should know that that's the racing line, and they're going to get pushed off. And so when they gave the first penalty, then they kind of subsequently had to give more penalties in similar with the similar situations. So, yeah, I mean, I don't. In retrospect, they shouldn't have made the call, but unfortunately, they did, and they had to be consistent. So,
yeah,
it's, you know, they just got boxed in. I wish they would be able to give more descriptions as to why they awarded a penalty in that situation, because they can check for steering input, you know. And in one case, it looked like Perez kind of moved his wheel where he could have left space and he didn't. So in that situation, I feel like it's justified to give the penalty, but, you know.
Yeah. Interesting. I was, you know, looking at the race afterwards, I was kind of sad for my guy, George Russell. You know, qualified 9th, started 8th because Vettel's 3-spot penalty, and then finished 11th. And if I remember what I read correctly, he said he just couldn't hold off Alonso any longer. I think he lost the place to Alonso with like 3 laps to go or something.
Mm-hmm.
I just really want him to get a point for Williams. I mean, he's obviously qualifying really well right now. But it would be nice to see him score some points for once outside of his Mercedes opportunity last year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what do you think about your last couple picks? I think you went Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris. I went Chase Claypool, Michael Gallup.
Yeah, I mean, the pairing with Edmonds being a pass catching back and Kyler, so there's that connection. And then I just kind of went with Damian Harris to because I just like that value where it's getting him. I'm gonna have to mute for a little bit. I'll
Okay.
still be making picks, but you're gonna have to carry it. I'll cut this part out.
I got you. I'm not too worried. So we're round 8? So where am I? I will be pick 8.8. Right, so that means we're about pick 105. No, that can't be right. 8. So we're about pick 92. So, you know, at this point in the draft, I probably would have taken Jalen Hurts had he fallen, even though I already have Mahomes. I just think the potential there is probably too much to pass up. I think at this point I probably won't take Mostert. Thank God he's gone. I'm probably Mike Williams or Curtis Samuel here. I just like to pick guys that are past ADP at this point because I think like just the value is worth it. It's like when you're sports betting, if you can get what's called closing line value consistently, you're probably going to win more often than not. So Rob takes Curtis Samuel. I will slide in here and take Mike Williams. You know, he's paired with Justin Herbert. So probably going to be a high scoring offense. If he can stay healthy, he's really good at just going up and catching the ball, basically, which is obviously all he needs to do. And I think Herbert's more than willing to throw it up to him. I can get rid of tight ends here. I'm probably not going to look at them for a while because I have Kelsey. I don't imagine anyone I'm going to get at this point really being ahead of him. I think what I'm looking for next is probably another receiver. Also, I took Michael Gallup here, pick 77. I'm a big fan of that Dallas offense. I think that they are probably going to thrive with a healthy Dak this year. And if they do, I think all of them will put up points and probably rotate weeks. And Gallup, just being the cheapest of the three, makes the most sense to me. I don't really like paying a third round pick or fourth round pick for CD or Amari when I'm not 100% sure who's going to be the number one out of those two. We're pretty sure Gallup's going to be the number three, but the number three in that offense is probably going to put up a decent amount of points. So I'm good with that. At this point, I don't really like any of these running backs a whole lot. Maybe I go Stafford to pair him with Kupp. Or maybe we take Devontae Parker. And then, yeah, I think we'll do that. And then maybe we'll look for Tua later. Let's go and find Tua. There he is. So he goes pick 142. That means that, what round is that? 142. So around pick 11.8. So don't have to rush it, but, we'll get there. I could use another running back. Like I said, I will probably only leave this draft with 4, maybe 5, but I like to get up to about 9 receivers. So I generally go either 2 QBs or 3 QBs, and then either 2 QBs or 3 tight ends. I try to get 5 of those positions combined. And then obviously the rest, there's 13 picks left. So that means either 4 running backs and 9 receivers or 5 running backs and 8 receivers. I don't go very running back heavy. And I tend to lean more towards the 0 RB or the 1 early running back strategy. Obviously in this, I didn't completely do that. I took Clyde in round 2 and Mike Davis in round 5, I believe it was. So not completely my normal draft, but again, really headed for uniqueness, trying to get some upside on the team because at the end of the day, we're going to need guys who score a lot of points if we have a chance to win this. And to get that, my view a lot of times is you have to come from a good offense. So that's why you'll see me, like I've got Chiefs here who I think are going to be good. While the Falcons may not be a good team, I think they will have to score points. So I think Mike Davis can obviously be a beneficiary there. Dallas is going to be big. I think the Chargers are going to be good. I actually think Miami will be solid again this year. It's the first full season for Tua, so I do think he'll be better. The Rams, we've seen Stafford just throw the ball a ton. McVay seems like a pretty solid offensive mind. So I think Kupp could have a pretty big year. I don't remember what he did last year or the year before, but I think he'll be solid. And then obviously Kelsey again at tight end. If Fournette stays here, I will probably take him, even though I'm not the biggest fan. I'd probably even take James Conner at this point because I think Conner, like Rob took Chase Edmonds, I believe. But Arizona has been one of the most efficient rushing offenses since Cliff got there. Part of that is obviously the designed QB runs. They tend to be more efficient than actual running back runs. But I think Connor could take some of the goal line work. And he's a decent pass catcher himself. So should Edmonds get hurt, or let's say Connor wins a bigger role, you never know. He could return RB2 value, maybe in the right situation, RB1. I don't really believe that. But, it's more of take him. Hopefully he falls into like a, couple catch, 100 total yard, 2 touchdown type game when you need him. But we still got 2 people in front of us. Connor may not even be there. If he's gone, Russell Gage goes. Not sure who Rob's going to take. I don't see him as taking Connor since he already has one Arizona running back. I could see him being a Gus Edwards kind of guy. But this will be interesting. He takes A.J. Dillon. I'm not the biggest Dillon fan, although I do like the opportunity should Aaron Jones get hurt. So I'm going to take James Conner here, right? That's who we're on. Just got to make sure. So we'll go Conner there. That gives us our 3 running backs so far. And then next, I'm honestly probably just going to snag Tua here, coming around in round 11, if he's available. I'm a Tua fan. Wasn't really a fan last year, but this year, the fact that they were more than happy to let Fitzpatrick go, they brought in Will Fuller. They have Devontae Parker. Preston Williams hopefully is healthy. They have Gesicki there as well. He's got weapons. So I think he's in line for a pretty solid year. And even last year he was decent. But Tua's always been known when he was at Alabama, he's able to throw the ball down the field. So hopefully he keeps that up. And ideally it goes to Devontae Parker, who we also grabbed earlier. But, this Trey Lance pick, I know it's a popular one for a lot of people. And I'm a believer in best ball. Maybe there's a little more nuance to it. But in redraft, really once you get to round 10, you can just take whoever you want, whenever you want, because you're going to cut most of them anyway. Trey Lance, I'm a fan. I don't know if I'm a fan this year. If he gets the starting spot, definitely grab him. But I don't think Jimmy G's done. I don't know why. I just don't think he is yet. So, we'll see. But I don't know if I want to be the guy with Trey Lance on my bench for 6 or 8 weeks. So we'll take Tua. That gives us 2 QBs. So this draft, I might actually only take 2 QBs and 2 tight ends. Let's look at tight end who's still here. A guy I've actually taken a few times is O.J. Howard, just because he lasts so long. And him coming back from injury might be, I don't know. He's got a lot of skills. Rob takes one of my favorite players in Rondale Moore. Absolutely love him. I think he may have challenged Jamar Chase, Devontae Smith, and Jalen Waddle as the best receiver in the class had he grown a little bit more. He's only 5'7", really small for an NFL player in terms of height, although he is pretty thick. But huge fan. I hope Cliff uses him properly there in Arizona, because I think he can be very dynamic and a very good weapon for Kyler. And that also makes sense because Rob took Kyler as his QB1. So now he's got Kyler, Chase Edmonds, and Rondale Moore. So that if that Cardinals offense goes off, he's likely to have a piece of whatever's happening there. So now in terms of where my roster's at, I've got 2 QBs, 3 running backs, 5 receivers, 1 tight end. I'm honestly probably just going to pound receiver and grab 1 other running back at some point. And then obviously I'll grab a second tight end, because you never want to take a 0 if you can avoid it. So I'll take whoever I take won't have a week 12 bye. But I probably don't want to, since I've invested a lot into tight end, I don't want to take too many of them. And that's the thing that I normally do with these drafts is wherever I invest a lot, either quarterback or tight end. I usually only do it to one of the positions. Obviously, in this draft, I did it to both. That's why I'm only going to take two at each. But if I invest into tight end, I usually only take two tight ends, and then that's when I'll take QB a little bit later and take three of them. If I invest into QB and don't take a tight end, that's usually when I'll take three tight ends, because I don't want to bet on the guy I invested in early flopping, and it feels like a wasted pick if I take Mahomes in round 3 and then take two more quarterbacks later in the draft. One of those picks is almost assuredly never going to play. So I don't want to waste that pick. But here you'll see Rob's up in there's three people in front of him. So, I don't know where he's leaning. He's pretty balanced right now in terms of he's got 4 running backs, 5 receivers, and then 1 QB and 1 tight end. I wouldn't be surprised if he went tight end. I don't know what he likes. But, it's kind of at the point where he can take a shot. Irv Smith seems decent. Evan Ingram's a guy I'm a fan of. That offense is getting better. Daniel Jones ideally gets better. And I think Ingram, with Galladay there, I think Ingram can catch a decent amount of balls, be a decent, mid-tier tight end. I don't think he has tight end 1 potential, overall, but I think he could end up in that, 5 to 8 range pretty easily. It just depends on how good that offense is this year. So Blake Jarwin goes. Rob's up. Let's see where he goes. Again, I don't know what he likes necessarily, but I know the last couple of years he was a Josh Jacobs fan, so I doubt he takes Kenyon Drake. And there he goes with the 4th Cardinal on his team. Takes Christian Kirk, who I've always been a fan of. I'm going to grab probably my last running back, and I'm going to take Kenyon Drake. Not the biggest fan of that team, the Raiders, but I've never been sold on Josh Jacobs, even though he's decent. But I really just have no clue what Gruden's going to do. But they signed Drake to, I think, a 2-year contract or something like that. So I doubt they're not going to use him. But with that, I don't really like the Underdog interface, to be honest. It's kind of clunky to me. I also don't like that, and this is probably more nitpicky, but if you're going to tell me someone's ADP is 138, but then you're showing me, round up here and not total pick, that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. Obviously I can figure out what pick I am, right? Because 12 times 12 is 144, and then I'm the 5th pick after that, so I'm pick 149 here. But I hate having to do that in my head or use a calculator. Just show me what round and what pick in that round, or up top, just show me what pick overall we're at. Just make my life easier for me, please. So this one's tougher. There's not a lot of people I like here, but I'm going to go with my guy, Brian Edwards. He's getting a lot of talk these days. So I know I just went back-to-back Raiders, and Rob actually and I were talking about this, and I think I mentioned it earlier. I'm not the biggest fan of taking guys from bad offenses, but we've seen the Raiders can be decent, and Edwards was kind of their wide receiver 1 last year until he got hurt, and he's been talked up this offseason. So I think there's a decent chance he ends up as their wide receiver 1 again, even though I think Waller is probably their number 1 target overall. So I think Edwards could pay off big time there if things work out. And I wasn't a huge fan of a lot of the other guys. I think T.Y. Hilton's on his last legs. Traquan, we're not 100% sure what the situation in New Orleans is. John Brown, another Vegas guy. I just think Edwards is better. But yeah, kind of is what it is. And he's receiver number 6 for me. I think we only have the potential to play 4. So ideally, he never even plays. But, we'll see where we're at. I got to look at another tight end at some point, so we'll add them back in. So, all right. And then who did Rob take? Rob took Hunter Henry. We've seen the Patriots, Bill Belichick, do 2 tight end sets before. He seems to enjoy those. They signed Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith in the offseason. I think they both can do well. We've also seen Cam Newton throw to tight ends very well, Greg Olsen. So, and Mac Jones, I think, is a fairly maybe he's not like a top tier incoming rookie, but I think he's a solid option should he get to play. So I think there's a possibility that both tight ends in New England return some decent value. McKissick is one of my favorite backs, although I do think Antonio Gibson steps up and takes more of that passing game role. I do think McKissick can return a lot of value, especially for a 14th round pick should Gibson get hurt, or maybe Gibson's role doesn't expand the way people think it's going to. Gronk is an interesting option next, I think. Not the biggest fan, but it'll be his second year back. That Tampa Bay offense should be really good again. You think they get everyone back pretty much. So we'll kind of see, but I don't know. It might be worth it for me at this point to just grab the second tight end. We know Gronk and Brady have a relationship, and Brady likes to look for him. So might be kind of good to just grab that now. Then I can just pound receiver the next, 3 rounds after that. So who's Rob going with? I'm assuming he'll take a QB here. He's got to get a second one at some point. He's 4 running backs, 6 receivers. Oh, he goes receiver. There must be some QBs later that he likes. I'm going to go with Gronk. Now I can just get rid of the tight end filter and just kind of scroll through this, find guys that I like, and go from there. If we look here, something I like to do is just kind of see bye weeks and stuff. Obviously not the biggest issue, but I have 3 receivers out of my 6 that are on a week 7 bye. Could cause some problems. And 2 of my 4 running backs have week 12 byes. Again, could cause some problems, but probably not the worst thing. And look at that. I took Gronk there, and then there's 4 straight tight ends that come off the board, right? So Gronk, Firkser, Cook, and Kmet. When there's a run on players, in my opinion, you either want to be first or last. You don't want to be in the middle. Now that tends to matter more early rounds, because in the later rounds, it's kind of anybody's guess as to who's going to do anything. But yeah, I would always rather have the first pick or the last pick there, because if I'm not getting the guy I really want, I really don't want to have to choose. So when it comes back to me, I'm probably going to grab AJ Green if he's available. I know Rob probably wanted the 5 stack, but seems to have been a lot of talk about Green playing opposite of DeAndre Hopkins, and I know last year he was extremely inefficient, but that was a brand new rookie quarterback. He's coming off injury and stuff. Maybe they just didn't vibe well. He won't be the default number 1 in Arizona, so maybe he can kind of revive his career a little bit. He's obviously not done. I think him and Julio are pretty much the same age, so I think AJ still has some years left potentially, but it'll be interesting to see. So where's Rob go? Does he go QB now? He's obviously got to grab a second because if you don't, then you take a 0 at least 1 week. And did Rob takes Jeff Wilson? It looked like the timer reached 0. I don't know if he timed out or not, but maybe, hopefully not. But I know he's got the kid, he's working and stuff, so you never know what's going on. But yeah, I think, if it comes back to me and Demarcus Robinson's there, I might grab him. That would give me another chief. So Rob said that was a timeout. Jeff Wilson is hurt. That sucks. Unfortunate for him. So hopefully he can get back in and make his next pick. But like I was saying, I might go Demarcus Robinson with my next pick. That would give me 4 Chiefs. And I think that I don't know how good Demarcus Robinson really is, but anytime you can get the potential number 2 target in Kansas City and pair him with Mahomes, it's probably a decent idea. I think the reason you're not seeing more of those Chiefs receivers or, one of that bunch go much higher is because I think, A, a lot of people think it'll be Mecole Hardman. We see him go somewhat earlier. But B, none of those other guys have really stepped up. So it's kind of tough to tell who's going to do what. So this guy has 9 receivers already, 3 running backs, 2 tight ends, and there he takes his second quarterback. What's his team? That's Slope 89. Who's he got? Oh no, switched back to me. Where you at, Slope? So he's got Tannehill, Winston, Etienne, Javonte Williams, McKissick. So he's got Tyreek, DeAndre, Godwin, Evans. See, I'm a fan of both of these guys. I'm not a fan of grabbing them on the same team. He's got all 3 Tampa Bay guys, and he didn't get Tom Brady. That's kind of non-optimal in my opinion. I don't ever really want all of the options in an offense unless I'm getting the quarterback as well. That might be just me personally. But in something like this, there's probably not going to be a game where all 3 of them go off. There might be games where 2 of them do. But if more than one of them goes off, and someone in front of Rob takes Demarcus Robinson, so that's a little disappointing because I'm not a huge fan of the rest of these guys. But let's see who's there running back wise. Lindsey, Chuba Hubbard, Darrington Evans. Scantling, not particularly great, but he does make some big plays. Rob takes Cam Newton. That makes a lot of sense. He has Jacoby Myers. He has Hunter Henry. So going with a little New England stack there. So we got 2 rounds left. Let me look at what I'm doing. So we'll pull up running back. So this is kind of my thought because I have, I was thinking of only going with 4 running backs, but I might switch it up and go with 5 because I got 2 with week 12 buys. So for me, that means whoever I take next has to not have a week 12 bye. So I'm thinking I really don't want Phillip Lindsay. I want to avoid anything going on in Houston. I was looking up Deshaun Watson the other day, and it seems very likely he won't play again until 2023 at the earliest, if ever. So they have Tyrod there. Maybe Tyrod's decent, but not a big fan. So my thought here is maybe we go Chuba Hubbard or Darrington Evans neither of them is probably going to be particularly great on their own. But should the guy in front of them get hurt, I think they could both step up and have huge workloads. So I grabbed Hubbard there. Week 13 bye, so we avoid week 12. And, obviously we saw what Mike Davis did in Carolina last year when McCaffrey was out. So, I don't know how good Hubbard actually is, but I think he could step in and possibly get the similar workload. Maybe it's 90% of what McCaffrey got or 80%. But when you think about what the average running back gets, and ideally he's probably never playing for me unless someone on my team gets hurt. So I'm done with running backs. And that's what that's going to give me this draft is 2 QBs, 5 running backs. I'll end up with 9 receivers and 2 tight ends. So if we start looking at teams, we got one guy 26, 57, 30, 33. I don't know how they do these rankings. In my opinion, I think they tend to do them based on how many. It seems to be if you like whatever your total points are. So guys who take more quarterbacks tend to get higher, like projected points here from what I've seen. But yeah, like I said, I don't know how they actually do it. This guy with only 2 QBs gets a 29-11. He's the first one over 2,700 without 3 QBs, I believe. Yeah, so I'm assuming they do it by just taking whatever projected points your guys have. So like KJ Hamler's projected at 101.4, and they'll add it to whatever you're at. So for me, we'll look at this. I'm at 27.57, and after my next pick, we'll see where we're at. So, once the draft's over, we'll wrap this up. Maybe look at a couple teams just to compare. Maybe I'll pull the draft board up so we can get a better look. But yeah, it's it's been fun. Obviously, in drafts like this, you're really hoping to get lucky, because the end goal is really to win that $50,000. It's not, if I just want to play in a best ball league, I'm not going to be in. I'm not going to be in enter the tournament, right? If I just want to win one league, I'm going to draft a little bit differently. I'm not going to enter the tournament, and my team structure will probably be a little bit different. Although for me, not a huge amount different. And Rob said that he actually accidentally did a Washington stack. What's he mean by that? He's got Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas. Okay. That's not bad, though. I think both of them are solid. Who do you take with his last pick? He took Palmer. So with mine, I'm going to take Fulgham. We saw he had some pretty good potential last year. I know they have Jalen Reagor and Devontae Smith this year. Oh, and Rob also took Curtis Samuel. I forgot about that. Yeah, not the biggest fan of Philadelphia this year for me, but I don't think they'll be terrible. And I think Fulgham has an opportunity, although, we really don't know what that offense is going to be. So what did that put me up to? I was at 27.57, put me up to 28.04. So yeah, I don't really know how they do their projections. But from what I've seen, this is probably a decent projection. But again, we don't really care about that. What we care about is the Chiefs dominating this year so I can win $50,000. But with that, here's completed the draft. Let's go look at this one. That was not it. That was not it. It was this one. So this is my final team. So we got Mahomes and Tua at quarterback. At running back, we have Clyde, Mike Davis, James Conner, Kenyon Drake, and Chuba Hubbard. Wide receivers, Cooper Kupp, Chase Claypool, Michael Gallup, Mike Williams, Devontae Parker, Brian Edwards, AJ Green, MVS, Travis Fulgham. And then tight ends, if you looked at my tight end group, if this were 5 years ago, you'd probably say I have a really good chance to win. Now, obviously, only one of these guys is really dominant, and that's Kelsey. But Gronk can still hold his own. Let's look at Rob's team. So Rob projected to lose to me by like 14 points. He got 2 QBs. He went with basically the same setup I did. 2 QBs, 5 running backs, 9 receivers, and 2 tight ends. He's got Kyler and Cam. Running backs, he's got Saquon, Chase Edmonds, Damian Harris, AJ Dillon, Jeff Wilson, which was an auto pick, unfortunately. Then receiver-wise, I like his receiver group a bit better than mine, but I probably like my running backs a bit better than his, other than Saquon. He's got A.J. Brown, Terry McLaurin, Lockett, Samuel, Rondale Moore, Christian Kirk, Jacoby Myers, Josh Reynolds, Josh Palmer. And then his tight end group, Logan Thomas and Hunter Henry, is pretty solid. I like Rob's team here. So with that, we'll wrap it up. And like Rob says, go follow us on Twitter. What is it? FC Wine Mixer. Find us on YouTube and follow our socials. Rob will put them all in the show notes. And yeah, have a good day.